We all like to think we're pretty digitally literate. We can post, we can scroll, we can shop online. But what if the skills that actually matter are things we never really learned? Today, we're going to deconstruct what digital literacy really means in our hyper-connected world.
So let's ask that question directly. What does it really mean to be digitally literate today? Is it just about being good at social media? Or is there something deeper, a real skill set that we need? Well, as we're about to find out, the answer is surprisingly clear.
And you're probably not going to guess where we found the blueprint for this. It wasn't in some high-level tech manual. It was in a final exam for 10th graders in Indonesia. And honestly, it lays out a vision so complete, it's something almost all of us could learn from. So, let's dive in.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we're going to tackle the mindset, which is all about thinking like a computer. Then, we'll get practical with mastering the digital toolbox. After that, we'll connect the dots in from hardware to humans. And finally, we'll get into the most critical part, surviving the digital world.
Okay, first up, Section 1, Thinking like a Computer. Now, this isn't about becoming a robot, not at all. It's about having a foundational way of thinking that helps you solve really complex problems. And that's a skill that goes way, way beyond just using a computer. So the big idea at the heart of this section is something called computational thinking. Sounds a little intimidating, right? But the exam defines it as just a way of solving problems using principles from computer science. But don't let that fool you. This isn't really about coding. It's more like a framework for taking on any challenge in a logical, step-by-step way. And this way of thinking is built on 4 pillars. First, there's decomposition, which is just a fancy way of saying you break a huge problem down into smaller, easier pieces. Then you have abstraction, where you learn to ignore all the useless details and focus only on what really matters. Third is pattern recognition, spotting trends or things that look familiar. And finally, you create algorithms, which are just step-by-step instructions to get you to the solution. It's kind of like building IKEA furniture, right? You break it down, ignore the extra packaging, see how similar screws are used, and then you follow the instructions. And you can see this thinking in action right here. The exam doesn't just ask for an answer, it asks for the best one for the job. By comparing 2 different ways to sort a list, it's testing if a student can choose the right plan. That's that 4th pillar, the right algorithm, for a specific situation. It's all about strategic thinking, not just finding any old solution that kind of works. Okay, so let's move on to Section 2 and see how this way of thinking translates into mastering the digital toolbox. We're shifting gears now from the abstract mindset to the real, hands-on tools we use every single day. And, no huge surprise, the exam starts with the essentials: Word for your documents, Excel for your numbers, and PowerPoint for your presentations. I mean, this is the absolute bedrock of practical skills you need in pretty much any professional setting. But here's where it gets interesting. True digital skill isn't just knowing how to open a program and type. The exam pushes way beyond that, testing students on really powerful features that, let's be honest, a lot of us never bother to learn, like mail merge.
It's testing your ability to follow a process. Can you actually execute the recipe? Step 1. You connect your document to your data, say a list of names in Excel. Step 2. You pop in some placeholders where the custom info goes. And Step 3. You hit a button and generate hundreds of personalized documents automatically. See, that's the difference. Knowing a tool exists is one thing. Knowing how to make it do the work for you, that's real literacy.
All right, let's jump to Section 3, from hardware to humans. So we've covered the mindset, we've covered the software. Now, let's connect it all to the actual physical machines that make it all happen.
The exam makes this super clear distinction. Hardware is all the stuff you can physically touch: the processor, the memory, the mouse. Software, on the other hand, is the invisible set of instructions that tells all that hardware what to do. Your operating system, your apps. You really can't be truly literate if you don't get that fundamental difference. So what's the bridge between us and the machine? It's the GUI, or Graphical User Interface. This is the magic that lets us click on little pictures and use menus instead of having to type in lines of cryptic code. It's the friendly face on top of all that complexity, and the exam correctly points out how crucial it is. And that brings us to our final section, and honestly, this might be the most important one of all: surviving the digital world. This is where we move beyond just technical stuff and get into social responsibility, ethics, and just plain old personal safety. And the exam uses these incredibly realistic scenarios. I mean, check this one out. A student gets a message that says it's from customer service for a big online store.
It claims there's suspicious activity on her account and pushes her to click a link to secure it. The link looks kind of real, but it's not quite right. Does that sound familiar to anyone?
Yep, this is a classic phishing attack, and the exam defines it perfectly, using tricky messages to make you feel scared or rushed so you'll give up your private info. Being able to spot this kind of thing is basically a non-negotiable survival skill these days.
Then it moves on to another massive vulnerability, one I think we've all been guilty of at some point. A student named Bayou uses the same simple password for his email, his social media, and his online banking. So when his Instagram gets hacked, suddenly everything is at risk.
So what's the fix? Well, the exam's options point directly to what all the security experts tell us. The best defense is a three-pronged attack. Use a different, strong password for every single account, turn on two-factor authentication wherever you can, and use a password manager so you don't have to remember them all.
And the dangers aren't just from outside scammers. This one really hits home. The exam presents a scenario with a chilling statistic. 70% of cyberbullying at the school happened inside their own class WhatsApp groups. It's a stark reminder that digital citizenship isn't just about protecting yourself, it's also about how we treat the people we know in these shared online spaces.
So after all that, what's the big takeaway? Well, this exam shows us that true digital literacy isn't just one skill. It's more like a three-legged stool. If you're missing any one of those legs, the whole thing just tips right over.
And here's that blueprint laid out for us. The first leg is the thinking, that problem-solving mindset we started with. The second is mastering the tools, the practical software and hardware skills. And the third leg is understanding the impact, the social, ethical, and security awareness you need to be a responsible digital citizen.
This whole framework is what's essential for a 10th grader and, let's be real, for pretty much all of us today. But that leaves us with one last question to chew on. What's next? What's the digital skill that isn't on this test yet, but will be the one that matters most tomorrow?